be me, 29-year-old woman. Studied gender and society, took it seriously. Have normal friends, live normal life. But yeah, I've always had strong opinions about dating and relationships. Spent years in university seminars and study groups discussing how patriarchy shapes everything. Read all the theory, wrote all the papers, had all the discussions. Came away convinced that men's dating problems are largely self-inflicted. They won't date women their own level. They chase younger, hotter women. They have fragile egos. They don't work on themselves. They don't listen. They don't do emotional labor. Single men in their 20s, clearly being too picky or having personality issues. I mean, that's what made sense based on everything I learned. All the discussions about male entitlement, unrealistic beauty standards men impose on women. The data about how men consistently rate women's attractiveness more harshly. How men swipe right on only the most attractive women. Seemed obvious that lonely men were causing their own problems. Probably just need to lower their standards and be better people, right? Meanwhile, I'm in a relationship with Marcus for 3 years. Met him at a conference. He's in consulting too. Good-looking guy. We connected immediately. Dating was never that hard for me, honestly. Had boyfriends throughout my 20s. Met guys through friends, school, work. Sure, I dealt with some jerks, but overall had options. My friends are mostly women, who also seem to navigate dating fine. Some complaints about fuckboys and ghosting, but they still had dates. Reinforced my view that dating was basically fine if you're a good person. Problems come from people having bad attitudes or unrealistic expectations. Then there's my younger brother, Ryan. He's 24, graduated 2 years ago, works as an accountant at a regional firm. Decent job, makes okay money, lives in an apartment with a roommate, normal guy. Honestly, kind of boring in that stable way. Growing up, he was always the nice one. I was the outspoken one. He played video games, but also played soccer, had friends, wasn't a shut-in. Average looking, like genuinely average, 5'9", normal build, brown hair, regular features. Nothing wrong with him, but nothing that makes him stand out either. He's been single for like 2 years now since his girlfriend from college broke up with him. She moved across the country for grad school, and they tried long distance for a while. It fell apart. Whatever. Normal breakup stuff. I figured he'd be dating again soon enough, but months kept passing, and he never mentioned anyone. Whenever I'd ask about his dating life, he'd get quiet and change the subject. I internally assumed he was being too picky, probably swiping past perfectly nice women because they're not models. Or maybe he's not putting himself out there enough. Not joining activities, not socializing, playing too many video games, classic guy stuff, you know? Fast forward to 2 months ago. Ryan asks if he can stay at my place for the weekend. His apartment is getting fumigated or something. Sure, whatever. I have a spare room. Marcus is traveling for work, so it's just us. Friday night we order pizza and watch some show. He seems down, quieter than usual. I ask him what's up with his love life, trying to be the supportive older sister. He just shrugs and says, it's not really happening. I say something like, you have to actually try, you know. He looks at me with this tired expression. Says, I'm trying, it just doesn't matter. I'm thinking, yeah, sure. Typical guy perspective. Probably sent 3 messages and gave up. So I push a bit, ask him about the apps, whether he's meeting people. He tells me he's been on every app for over a year. Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, even tried some others. I'm skeptical because, like, everyone gets some matches, right? He's not deformed. He's not creepy. He should be getting somewhere. I say something about how maybe his profile needs work. Or maybe he's only swiping on women out of his league. I don't say it meanly. I'm genuinely trying to help. But he just sighs and says, you don't get it. That phrase annoys me because, like, why wouldn't I get it? I've dated. I've used apps. I understand how this works. So I tell him to show me his profile. Maybe I can help him fix it. He pulls out his phone reluctantly. Opens Hinge first. His profile is fine. Photos are decent. One of him hiking, one at his friend's wedding, one with his dog. Not professional model shots, but normal pictures where he looks presentable. His prompts are honestly pretty thoughtful. One about his favorite local restaurant and why. One making a joke about his worst cooking disaster. One about wanting to find someone to explore the city with. Nothing cringe, nothing desperate, nothing weird. I'm reading it thinking, okay, this is a perfectly acceptable profile. Not going to set the world on fire, but should definitely get some matches. I tell him it looks good, seems like he put thought into it. He laughs bitterly and swipes to his matches. 3 matches in the past month. 3. I blink at the screen. 1 month of active swiping. 3 matches. He sees my face and says, "That's actually a good month." Shows me the previous months. Some months, 2 matches. Some months, 1. 1 month, 0. I'm doing math in my head. This can't be right. He's swiping daily. He shows me. He's deliberate about it. Not just mass swiping right, actually reading profiles. Swiping right on women who seem compatible, interesting, in his area. Women who, based on their profiles, seem like they have similar interests. Women who are, frankly, similar levels of attractiveness. Not Instagram models. Not way out of his league. Just normal women with normal jobs and normal pictures. His right swipe rate is maybe 30-40%, he estimates. Out of those, he gets maybe 1-2% match rate. The math is fucking dire. I ask about the matches he does get. He swipes through his conversations. First, match from last month, a woman named Sarah, 26, works in marketing. Her profile said she likes hiking and trying new restaurants. Ryan sent, "Hey Sarah, I saw you're into hiking. Have you done Runyon Canyon? The views are amazing this time of year. Also curious what your favorite spot for Thai food is. Always looking for recommendations." Long message, thoughtful, references her interests, asks open questions. Her response, 3 days later, "Haha, no, haven't been there." He replies asking if she wants to check it out sometime or grab coffee. No response. Conversation dead. I stare at this exchange. His message was good, engaging, personalized. Her reply was low effort. He still tried to move it forward. Just got silence. Next match. Woman named Jessica, 25, teacher. Ryan's opening message references something specific in her profile about a book she mentioned. He actually read the book too, makes a thoughtful comment about it, asks her what she's reading now. She responds, "Oh my God, I love that book," he replies with enthusiasm. Shares his favorite part, asks if she's into any similar authors. She sends back, "Haha, yeah." He tries to pivot to meeting up, suggests a coffee shop. Left on read. Another conversation dead. I'm scrolling through these, and there's a pattern. Ryan is putting in effort, being personable, trying to engage. These women are giving him nothing. Or they just stop responding randomly. 1 match. He had a decent back and forth with, for like 2 days. He suggested meeting for drinks. She unmatched immediately. No explanation. Just gone. I look up at him, and he's just watching me with this resigned expression. He says, "Now check Bumble." On Bumble, women message first, right? Should be better, because the women who match are actually interested enough to message his matches. There are even fewer. Maybe 1 every 2 weeks. And the messages he gets are brutal in their low effort. "Hey, hi, hello." One just sent a waving emoji. These are the women who matched with him. They swiped right on him. And that's the effort they put in? He's responding to all of them, trying to start actual conversations. "Hey, how's your week going? I saw you're into rock climbing. How long have you been doing that?" "Hi, thanks for matching. What brings you to Los Angeles?" "I saw you're new here." Thoughtful, engaged, trying to build on whatever information he has. Most don't reply to his response. Just that initial low-effort message, then nothing. The few who do reply give him breadcrumbs. 1-word answers, no questions back, no engagement. He tries to keep it going for a bit, then suggests meeting. That's usually where it ends. Either no response, or "Sorry, I'm not really looking for anything right now." Then why the fuck are you on a dating app matching with people? I'm scrolling and scrolling, and I'm starting to feel something uncomfortable in my chest. This is not what I expected to see. I expected to find that he was being creepy or boring or offensive, but he's not. He's being normal, respectful, genuinely trying to connect, and he's getting nothing back. I ask him about Tinder. He shakes his head, says it's even worse. Barely any matches at all, and the ones he gets are usually bots or scams. He deleted it after 6 months because it was just depressing. I ask how often he's actually getting dates from all this. He thinks about it. In the past year, he's had 4 first dates. 4. From a full year of daily effort on multiple apps. I ask how they went. One woman seemed nice but texted after to say, no chemistry. One spent the whole date on her phone and left after 30 minutes. One talked about her ex the entire time, then ghosted him. One actually went okay. They went on 2 dates. Then she told him she was getting back with her ex. I'm starting to feel genuinely shocked. This doesn't align with anything I thought I knew about dating. I tell him maybe apps aren't the way. What about meeting people in person? He gives me. This look like I've said something incredibly naive. Tells me he's tried. He goes to a climbing gym twice a week. Been going for a year. Everyone there is friendly, but it's not really a social scene. People are focused on climbing. The few times he's tried to chat with women there, beyond casual small talk, it's clear they're not interested. He joined a recreational soccer league, plays every week. Made some guy friends, but it's mostly couples, and not a lot of opportunity to meet single women. He goes to bars sometimes with his friends, but how do you approach women there? Every time he's tried, they seem annoyed or closed off. He went to a book club for a few months that was mostly women. Tried to be social and friendly without being creepy. None of them seemed to see him as a potential dating option, just a guy in their book club. I'm listening to all this and realizing he's actually been trying really hard. Genuinely putting himself out there in multiple avenues. Doing the things everyone says you're supposed to do. Be social, have hobbies, meet people organically, and it's just not working. I try a different angle. Ask him if maybe he's coming on too strong or misreading signals. He laughs and says, that's the thing. There are no signals to misread. Women simply are not interested. He can tell he's not oblivious. The few times he's thought maybe someone was being friendly in a flirty way, and he's very carefully tested the waters. It became immediately clear he was misreading basic friendliness for interest. He's not out here harassing women or being a creep. He's just existing as a single guy, trying to find a relationship. And apparently that's basically impossible for him. I suggest maybe he needs to work on himself more. Even as I say it, I realize how condescending it sounds. He asks me what that means specifically. What should he work on? He has a good job. He's financially stable. He's in decent shape. Goes to the gym 3 times a week. Plays soccer. He has hobbies and interests. He reads. He's traveled some. He has friends, a social life. He's close with family. He's in therapy actually. Has been for a year. Working on self-confidence and processing the breakup. He dresses fine. Has good hygiene. Takes care of himself. He's kind to people. Volunteers sometimes. Tips well. Is polite to service workers. So what exactly should he be working on? I don't have an answer. Because objectively, he's doing everything right. I'm staring at his phone, feeling my brain try to reconcile what I'm seeing. This is my framework. Men who struggle with dating are struggling because of their own issues. They're too picky. They won't date in their league. They have bad personalities. They don't try. But here's my brother, who is none of those things. And he's being systemically rejected by virtually every woman he encounters. I try to think of explanations that fit my worldview. Maybe he's secretly an asshole, and I don't see it, but I've known him his whole life, seen him in every context. He's genuinely a good person, almost to a fault. Too nice, if anything, apologizes too much, overly considerate. Maybe he's just unlucky, but this has been going on for 2 years. At some point, it's not luck, it's a pattern. Maybe the apps are just broken, but this is how most people date now, especially in their 20s. If apps don't work for him, and in person doesn't work, then what? I hand him back his phone, and I don't know what to say. He can see that I'm processing something. He says, "It's okay, you don't have to try to fix it." Tells me he's mostly accepted this is just how it is. He's focusing on other things, his career, his hobbies, his friendships. Maybe eventually he'll meet someone organically, but he's not counting on it. The resignation in his voice is what really gets me. He's 24 and he's already given up. Not because he's lazy or defeatist, but because he's tried everything and been rejected so many times it's worn him down. I think about myself at 24. I had a boyfriend. Before that had dated casually. Always had options. Never once felt like finding a relationship was this impossible uphill battle. Sure, I dealt with fuckboys and bad dates, but I still had access to dating. Men were interested in me. I could go on an app and get matches easily. I could go to a bar and be approached. I had the privilege of choosing from options, even if some options were shitty. Ryan doesn't even have shitty options. He has no options. That night, after he goes to bed, I can't stop thinking about it. I get out my laptop and start looking things up. Data on dating apps, studies on match rates, articles about modern dating. I fall down a rabbit hole. Find statistics showing men get vastly fewer matches than women on average. The bottom 80% of men compete for the bottom 22% of women in terms of swipe rates. Average-looking men have match rates in the low single digits. Women rate 80% of men as below average in attractiveness. The average woman on apps gets exponentially more matches than the average man. I'm reading all this, and it's like information I technically knew, but I had framed it differently in my head. I thought it was about men having unrealistic standards and only swiping on hot women, but the data shows men swipe right way more than women. Men are less selective, not more. Women are the ones being extremely selective, which is their right, obviously. No one has to date anyone. But it completely contradicts the narrative I had internalized. The narrative that men are too picky and won't date women in their league. I find forums and subreddits where men talk about their dating struggles. I'd seen these before and dismissed them as entitled "nice guys whining," but reading them now, after seeing Ryan's phone, a lot of them sound exactly like him. Normal guys, trying their best, being respectful, getting nowhere. Some of them are bitter and angry, sure, but some are just sad and confused, asking what they're doing wrong, posting their profiles for advice and getting told there's nothing obviously wrong, just that they're not attractive enough for the current market, sharing statistics about how many messages they've sent versus responses, hundreds of messages, single-digit responses. I see my own rhetoric reflected back in the advice they're given. Work on yourself, lower your standards, be more confident, try harder, and these guys are like, I am, I have, I'm trying, it doesn't matter, just like Ryan. I think about conversations I've had with my friends over the years, talking about how men need to do better, how single men just need to work on themselves and be decent, how if a guy can't get a date, it's probably his personality. I've said these things, believed these things, built them into my understanding of gender dynamics. Men have power, men have privilege, men have advantages. Therefore, their struggles in dating must be self-inflicted. It was a logical conclusion based on the framework. But I'm realizing the framework was incomplete, or at least not applicable to this specific area in this specific way. Yes, men have structural advantages in many areas, but in modern dating, particularly app-based dating, average men are at a massive disadvantage. It's not about deserving or justice or fairness. It's just the reality of the market dynamics. I think about the women I know. Most of them have never struggled to get matches or dates. The struggle is finding quality matches, filtering out assholes, staying safe. Those are real struggles. I'm not dismissing them, but it's a different struggle than not having access at all. My friend Rachel complains about dating all the time, but she goes on multiple dates a month. She has options. She's choosing from those options, even if many of them turn out to be disappointing. My co-worker Amy is very average looking, maybe slightly below, but she has a boyfriend she met on Hinge. Before him, she dated around pretty regularly. It was never hard for her to get matches or dates. The hard part was finding the right person. I'm realizing that women's dating struggles and men's dating struggles are often not even the same category of problem. Women deal with harassment, safety concerns, emotional labor, fuckboys. Those are serious issues. But they're operating from a position of having access to the dating market. Many men, especially average or below average looking men, don't even have that access to begin with. The weekend passes, and Ryan goes back to his apartment. But I can't stop thinking about all this. I find myself looking at couples differently, wondering how they met, noticing that the women are often more attractive than the men in younger couples. No, wait, that's not quite right. I'm noticing that the men in couples tend to be either very attractive or very charismatic or have some obvious edge. The average-looking quiet guys are mostly single. I start paying attention to my co-workers differently. There's this guy in accounting, Michael, probably late 20s. He's friendly, competent, seems perfectly nice. Average-looking, kind of forgettable appearance-wise. I've never seen him mention a girlfriend or dating anyone. Now I'm wondering if he's like Ryan, trying and failing, or maybe given up entirely. There's another guy, Tom, in operations. Similar situation, normal guy, always polite. He's mentioned being single, but I'd never thought much about it. Assumed it was by choice, or he wasn't trying. Now I'm wondering if he's also facing this same systematic rejection. I bring it up carefully with Marcus when he gets back from his trip. Ask him about his single friends and their dating lives. He has a few single guy friends. One of them, Jake, is good-looking and charismatic, does fine with dating. He's picky and enjoys being single, plays the field. That fits my previous understanding. But there's another friend, Chris, who never seems to date. I ask Marcus about him. Marcus says, yeah, Chris has a hard time meeting women. He's tried apps but doesn't get much luck. I ask if Chris is creepy or weird or something. Marcus looks at me like, that's a strange question. Says no, Chris is a great guy. Just quiet and kind of average looking. Probably doesn't put himself out there enough. I ask what that means. Does he not try? Marcus thinks about it and says no, he tries. He's on apps and goes out. Just doesn't seem to get anywhere. It's said so casually, like it's just an accepted fact. Chris is a good guy, but he's not attractive or dynamic enough, so he's just single. That's just how it is. I realize Marcus and his friends have always known this. They've understood that some guys just can't really compete in dating. It's accepted male knowledge, apparently. But I never knew, never understood. Because why would I? I've never been an average-looking man trying to date. No one in my feminist theory classes talked about this. We talked about male privilege and power and entitlement. We talked about women's struggles with objectification and harassment. We talked about how men need to do better, all of which can be true. But we never talked about the men who are invisible to the dating market, the men who would love to have a relationship but can't get one, because they're not attractive enough, or charismatic enough, or tall enough, or exciting enough, and I'm sitting with the realization that I've been completely blind to this. I think about the implications. There are millions of young men in Ryan's position, decent people, working on themselves, trying to build lives, who are facing systematic romantic rejection, not because they're bad people, not because they're not trying, but because the dating market, especially app-based dating, is brutally selective, and they're on the wrong side of that selection. What does that do to a person over time? Ryan is already showing signs of it after 2 years. The resignation, the giving up, the diminished confidence. What about after 5 years? 10 years? I think about the anger I've seen in some online spaces, the bitterness from men about dating and women. I've always dismissed it as entitlement, and some of it definitely is. But maybe some of it is also coming from a place of genuine pain and frustration, from being invisible, from trying and failing over and over, from being told it's their fault when they're doing everything they can. I'm not excusing misogyny or hatred, but I'm starting to understand the context that breeds it. I think about the advice women give to struggling men. Just be yourself, be confident, work on yourself, be kind and respectful. Ryan is all those things. But it doesn't matter. The advice assumes that being a good person is enough. But in the current dating market, it's not. You need to be attractive or charismatic or have some edge, some X factor that makes you stand out. And if you don't have it, you can be the kindest, most respectful person. And you'll still be swiped left, still be ignored, still be invisible. The harsh truth is that personality matters very little until someone is already attracted to you. And average guys often can't get to the point where their personality matters, because they're filtered out before anyone gets to know them. I have coffee with my friend Lauren a week later. She's complaining about dating as usual, talking about how all men are trash and just want sex, how hard it is to find a good guy. Normally I'd commiserate, but this time I ask her about her standards, what she's looking for, what her deal breakers are. She lists them off. Has to be at least 5'11", has to be fit, has to have a good job, has to be confident and funny, has to have ambition, can't be boring, can't be too nerdy, can't be obsessed with video games, has to dress well, has to have interesting hobbies. I'm listening to this list and thinking about Ryan. He fails on height alone. He's 5'9", probably also fails on exciting enough, ambitious enough, charismatic enough. I ask her how many guys she thinks meet all those criteria. She says, not many. That's the problem. All the good ones are taken. I ask if she'd consider a guy who was average looking but really kind and stable. She wrinkles her nose and says she needs to be attracted to someone, which is fair. Everyone deserves to be attracted to their partner. But I'm realizing that her standards eliminate like 90% of men. And she's not unusual. Most of my friends have similar lists. I probably have a similar list in my head for what I find attractive. I just got lucky meeting Marcus, who checks the boxes. I think about the mismatch. Women are selecting for the top tier of men. Those men have lots of options, so they often don't settle down, or they trade up. Meanwhile, there's a whole tier of normal, decent men who can't even get a first date. It's creating this weird dynamic where women feel like men are trash. Because the men, they have access to the top tier, often treat them poorly, and men feel like women are impossibly picky, because average men are invisible to most women. Both sides are frustrated, but they're experiencing completely different markets. I'd always framed it as men being entitled and wanting women out of their league. But that's not what's happening. Ryan is swiping on women in his league. They're swiping left because they have better options, or they think they do, or they're holding out for better, which again is their right. But it means guys like Ryan are left out entirely. I'm sitting in my office one day, and I overhear two younger women talking. They're maybe 23, 24, interns, or junior staff. They're looking at one of their phones, clearly at dating apps. Laughing and swiping, I hear one of them say, "Ew, no," and they both giggle. Then, God, why are there so many ugly guys on here? More laughter. They're just casually swiping left on probably dozens of guys. Guys who might be like Ryan. Put thought into their profiles, hoping for a chance, and they're getting dismissed in seconds with mockery. I feel a flash of anger, but then I check myself, because I've done the same thing. I've swiped through apps with friends, making snap judgments, dismissing guys for arbitrary reasons. Too short, too boring looking, bad fashion, weird smile. It was fun. It was casual. It didn't feel mean, because there were so many options. I never thought about those men as real people with feelings. They were just profiles, just options to filter through. But each one was a person who had hope when he saw a match, who put effort into a message and waited for a response, who experienced rejection over and over. I'm having a crisis of my entire worldview here. So much of my identity has been built around feminist analysis, understanding power structures, advocating for equality, analyzing how patriarchy harms everyone. And I still believe in all that. But I'm realizing I had a massive blind spot. I assumed men's struggles were mostly self-inflicted or overblown. I centered women's experiences as the important ones. And while women's experiences are important, I completely failed to understand or empathize with what average men face. Not because men are oppressed as a class, but because in this specific arena, many individual men are genuinely struggling. And that struggle is real and valid, even if it doesn't fit into my framework. I call Ryan one evening and tell him I've been thinking about our conversation. Apologize for being dismissive of his struggles before. He's quiet for a moment, then thanks me. Says it means a lot that I actually looked into it and believe him. Most people just give him the same advice or imply it's his fault. I ask him how he's doing with all of it emotionally. He admits it's been really hard on his self-esteem. He knows logically that his worth isn't determined by dating success, but it's hard not to internalize the constant rejection. Starts to feel like there's something fundamentally unlovable about him, even though he knows that's not rational. He's started to feel invisible, like he doesn't matter. Sees couples everywhere, sees his friends getting into relationships, feels left behind and defective. I listen, and I feel this deep sadness, because he doesn't deserve this. He's a good person who just wants to be loved, and the market has decided he's not good enough. I ask him what he wishes women understood. He thinks about it. Says he wishes they understood that some men really are trying, that being kind and respectful doesn't mean you're faking it to get laid. Some guys are genuinely kind and still can't get anywhere. Wishes women understood how much the constant rejection hurts, how hard it is to keep putting yourself out there when you fail over and over. Wishes they understood that men have feelings and insecurities too, that being ignored or mocked or dismissed takes a toll. He's not saying women owe him anything. He knows attraction isn't a choice, but he wishes there was more empathy for what it's like to be invisible, to be unwanted, not because you're a bad person, but because you're just average. We talk for over an hour. I tell him about what I've been learning and realizing. He's surprised that I've put this much thought into it. Says most women never do. They don't have to because it doesn't affect them. Even women who consider themselves empathetic and progressive often have this blind spot around male struggles, especially in dating. I realize he's right. All my friends who talk about equality and empathy, none of us have ever seriously considered what it's like to be an average man dating. We've centered our own experiences and struggles, which are real and valid, but we've failed to extend understanding to the other side. After we hang up, I just sit with everything. I think about how I'm going to move forward with this knowledge. I can't unsee what I've seen. I can't unknown what I now know. My brother and millions of men like him are facing systematic, romantic rejection, not because of their character or effort, but because of market dynamics and selective preferences. And almost no one is talking about it. Or when they do, they're dismissed as entitled or whiny. I've been part of that dismissal. I've rolled my eyes at men complaining about dating, assumed they were the problem. Now I know better. I'm not abandoning my feminism. I still believe in analyzing power structures and advocating for equality. I still believe women face serious issues and discrimination, but I'm adding nuance to my understanding, recognizing that men can struggle too, in different ways, in specific contexts, and that their struggles deserve empathy even if they don't fit the framework. I'm realizing that gender dynamics are more complicated than I thought, that you can't just apply a universal theory to every situation, that individuals have experiences that might contradict the general pattern, and those experiences matter. I think about what I can do with this understanding. I start pushing back gently when friends are too harsh about men, not in a not all men way, but in a some men are genuinely struggling and we should have empathy way. I stop making assumptions about why men are single. Stop assuming it's their fault or they're not trying. I try to be more aware of my own biases and selectiveness, more conscious of how I treat men who don't meet conventional attractiveness standards. I encourage my friends to give average guys a chance, to look beyond the initial swipe, to value character and compatibility. Some of them are receptive. Some think I'm overthinking it. I get it. You can't force attraction. But maybe if more women understood the impact of their collective selectiveness, there might be more willingness to be open-minded. Mostly, though, I just sit with the discomfort of being wrong, of having been so sure about something, and discovering I was blind.